Good morning, everyone. My name is AJ. I am a solutions engineer at ChainGuard or sales engineer, either one. Today, I'm going to be talking about the true cost of building at machine speed. And hopefully everybody can hear me. If not, I will just start yelling in the mic. Okay. So before we kick it off, a little intro. Yep, I'm AJ. I am a former DevOps engineer before I went to the dark side of sales. And I started at ChainGuard in 2024, been there for almost 2 years. And then, fun fact, I used to work at Harness. So was here at Harness for 4 years. And actually, I introduced myself earlier saying that I worked at Harness, which is weird. But all right. So I want to start off by asking a quick question. Who here has heard of ChainGuard? Like show of hands. Okay. So cool. I gave this talk like 2 months ago in New York and one hand rose. And so then I had to reach on the fly, tell everybody what we did. Next question. Who here cares about CVEs? Whose problem is it? Okay. Wow. There's a lot more than last time too. I had one guy be like, I care about CVEs, and that was it. Okay, cool. Then I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background about ChainGuard, and then we'll dive into some fun stuff. I don't want to hit you with all the sales stuff, but I do want to talk about how we do what we do because I think it's really genuinely cool. First thing here is AI is changing software development, right? So traditionally, right, a year ago, we were in stage one. All code was written by humans. We had systems and processes and tools and guardrails to make this work, right? We understood how to hire engineering teams, how to run in sprints, and how to ship products. Stage two started, right? And didn't really even have that much of a chance to run with it, right? So we had co-pilot tools, Cursor, Windsurf, LLMs, IDEs, things like that, helping humans write code. Humans were still in the loop of it, but that stage not really here for very long. And so this is our opinion. We're right here, right before the agentic side of things. And yeah, I mean, I think if for those organizations that are starting and moving quickly, I think they're just jumping straight to stage three. And so what's scary about this is that I gave a talk about the ChainGuard factory 2 months ago, how we did what we did, how we built everything. And I had to throw the whole presentation away because the way we're doing things now is completely different. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But so today, AI velocity comes with added complexity and risk, right? Major parts of the SDLC have to be rethought. Developers and teams can ship 10 to 50 times as much code in a day or a week or a sprint or a month, right? The ways we had to keep systems from breaking and keep systems secure aren't going to scale. So certain systems can scale by doing them a little bit faster, right? But guardrails in keeping software secure don't always stay in line with that, as you guys, I'm pretty sure all know here, being at SREday. The other piece about that is AI enables novel attacks for companies that we really aren't prepared for. And the job's getting a lot harder, as you can tell. We again have the rise of noise in this system, right? Yearly growth of CVEs is exploding. And I think I was actually just talking to one of my coworkers about this a minute ago. On our website, we have essentially like a Python image comparison. And usually it's 0 CVEs all the time on our image. And then the Python one has the open source one from Docker Hub or whatever has 700 CVEs or whatever. Even in the past month, I've seen us floating at around like 6 and 5, right? We remediate them, we patch, we rebuild daily and all of that. But this is like kind of like the first time like Python's getting really hit right now. And I think it's crazy. And that's what I'm going to talk about in a minute. But yeah, open source projects themselves can't keep up with a number of vulnerabilities that are showing up, right? And it's due to a number of reasons. Some vulnerabilities in the code itself, a lot of them are in dependencies, right? The libraries that we're pulling in, a lot of the dependency trees that are also coming alongside with that. And then finally, malware attacks, right, on the rise. Even a lot of them the last few years, but most recently we saw with a trivia attack not a couple weeks ago, it's actually almost a month ago or whatever. And Light LLM, right, with 97 million monthly downloads. That's a lot. And that's a heck of a lot. And I'm actually going to skip that guy real quick. But so the AI dilemma, right? You can't afford to slow down, can't afford to be breached. Increase in engineering and product velocity, right, is what we need. We need to maximize competitive advantage with AI and essentially sign off that you're building securely. So this is a massive headwind in the industry that's very demanding, right? AI is going to find exploits faster than humans can even patch, which is terrifying. And there's already research in AI tools that can potentially find exploits in 50% of CVEs, right? So how we think about severity level is changing, right? It's no longer a bunch of low, minimal CVEs. Some of these the majority of them are critical and high, and we're having to keep up with that at breakneck speed, right? So what do? Right? And I added this slide here. Not going to hit you with a bunch of sales stuff, but I want everybody to understand what we do before I get into how we do it. I'm going to step back from this guy so I can see it a little bit better. So we're the trusted source for open source. That's what we've dubbed ourselves, right? We originally came to market with ChainGuard containers. That's going to be hardened container images built on top of our ChainGuard OS, right? A minimal hardened OS. That was very successful and a lot of customers and a lot of companies came to us for those container images. I like to say 60% of our business is with the FedRAMP space. You can name a 3-letter agency. We do business with them. We've got ChainGuard containers running on a bus, on a train, on a plane with green eggs and ham. We got them everywhere. And then we came out with ChainGuard libraries. That's the next product that we came out with. And those are going to be securing your libraries and dependencies. We've got Python, we've got Java, we've got JavaScript. Go is on the way as well. And quite literally, we have people banging on the door like, hey, we need this library. We need this dependency. We need NuGet, and we need all these other pieces. So we're moving full steam ahead for that. Next piece here is ChainGuard OS packages, right? So we have about 30,000 packages, I think maybe a little bit more, right? So on top of building a secure base OS, we're also building all of the packages. As most of you know here, container images are basically made of packages, right? So we're building all of those from the source, right? From the ground up with that ChainGuard base image. But all those packages we're talking about, whether you're using the AWS CLI, whether you're using curl, bash, wget, whatever, we're providing a safe place to pull those packages from and to build your images with. All right, last two pieces here, ChainGuard actions, secure and harden GitHub actions, essentially, right? So we've got a lot of people using GitHub actions, and I'm sure in your organizations, some of your job is to manage the security around that, to add guardrails and governance and policies and stuff. And it's really hard to do that when people are just pulling in random GitHub actions. Couple that with random agent skills, right? Things that aren't being vetted. There's no provenance over that. There's no idea of where they're coming from, what's happening. And that's the problem that we're seeing today. Even last month, we unveiled at our conference Assemble that we came out with the ChainGuard OS packages to build your custom images with, GitHub actions, and then agent skills that are all hardened and secure. All right, that's a quick overview of what we're doing here as the trusted source for open source. Okay, so the ChainGuard factory, right? We build daily from source. We give you control over all of your dependencies and bottom cutting edge automation. So when we first started, we had a ton of different ways that we did things, and most of it was manual, and it was a lot of work, right? And so now with, like I mentioned, even in the past several months, we have switched over to a Agentic framework for how we build our images. And then lastly, rigorous testing. I didn't include it on this one because I forgot the slide, candidly. But essentially how we build and we test all of our container images, we actually stand up hundreds of Kubernetes clusters every single morning, essentially. And we run all of those tests. So when we deploy something like Kafka, we're actually building that app, like standing all those pieces up, deploying an application, running all those pieces, Nginx, whatever it is that you're looking for. So we make sure that every time you pull that container image, it works. Every time you deploy your application, it works every time. Okay, cool. Now for the interesting part, since we're all very tech savvy here, I want to talk about how we do what we do. ChainGuard Factory, version 1, this is what I talked about 2 months ago. That's no longer valid, right? We had scheduled bots, right? They'd wake up on a timer, check for updates, submit PRs, fundamentally reactive and clock driven, right? Version discovery was a single source and reviews were largely manual. One time I left my GitHub notifications on for our images repo and I woke up to 5,000 notifications. It was the worst email day of my life. Version 2, right? Factory V2 is a different architecture, okay? It's continuous, so bots reconcile against the desired state of the world at all times, right? It's not a cron schedule like it used to be. Version discovery is multi-source and AI powered. Quality gates are automated and agents evaluate whether the change actually improves things before it merges. The underlying framework that we use for that is called Driftless AF. It's an Agentic framework, but I think they were having fun with the wording as well. All right, so I do want to illustrate a little bit about the Factory V1 because it's really interesting how we started like this and then we went to the next piece, and this will help set the stage. So we started with the upstream repo, right? We start with the source code, security feeds, the update bots pull that. We build all the packages, submit all the PRs, the hundreds and hundreds of PRs. We do the unit testings, and then the images get built, right? They get published to the repository of your choice. First, the ChainGuard repo. Then, of course, if you're a customer of ours, you pull it through ECR, GCR. I think there's like a handful, Artifactory, whatever it is that you're using, Harbor, whatever you can think of. This is the way it looks now, which is much different. This is our Agentic factory, right? And it's powered by the whole AI piece that I just mentioned. So we've got the version discovery agent here, and it's actually looking for releases and tags all the time. So we have end of life dates, release monitoring, upstream repos, right? So every time anything changes in any of those repos, it's going to pull that down and rebuild. And it's going to continue to do that in like a self-healing fashion, right? So when mistakes are made or anything like that, it's self-healing, which is really sick. We also submit PRs for version bumps. The package builder is still similar, right? And then we output to the package repo, and then we have all of those images syncing to our customers' repositories. So that's how we actually are able to provide our customers with all of the updates to the published container images in almost real time. Packages, same thing, which is pretty awesome. Let's talk about a couple wins that we had with that. Win number one is going to be test quality, right? This is a really cool one. We built an AI agent whose sole job was to evaluate whether a package's tests are actually good, right? Not does it compile or does it return a version number when you call it -- version, right? But does the test suite actually prove that the software works correctly, right? The agent grades every package, A, B, or C, and then it generates improvements. So the result of that is 350 agent-generated test improvements that have already merged, right? 300 more are in progress, and we're at about 99.9% test coverage over 6,969 packages, right? That number has actually increased a little bit today because this slide is from a month ago, or roughly a month ago. So yeah, to put it into context, we have nearly 7,000 packages, and virtually all of them have meaningful quality tests. Not a human achievement at that scale. That's totally an agentic achievement there. Fun fact, the AI agent we use for that is called Quackage. I don't know why we named it that. I think the idea was like QA and package together. So now we call it Quackage, and it looks weird in Slack all the time. Win number two is version discovery. So before Factory V2, 51% of our packages required manual updates to stay current. Some packages were about 63 days behind their upstream. That's 63 days, right? 63 days of potential vulnerability exposure is what our customers were carrying, right? So Factory V2 fixed that. We moved from a single source version tracking to multi-source AI agent, watches GitHub tags, GitHub releases, end of life dates, release monitoring, all of that simultaneously. We saw that in that diagram that I shared earlier, the very complex looking one. So the result of that, right, is 100% of our packages are now tracked automatically, and we're 2 days faster on average at picking up new releases. That means that we are keeping up with all of those different releases, whether you're looking at Python, Java, Node, Go, or even the more complex ones like PyTorch. That image itself has been a thorn in my side for a long time. There's a lot of customers who are using PyTorch, right? But as there's 50 different versions of it, depending on what CUDA version you need, what type of NVIDIA piece you need. And then on top of that, language learning models, they change every single week. So there's new updates to that all the time. And so to keep up with that, we needed a way to build that. And that's where the agent works for us. Number three is build fixes, right? Yeah, Python package builds break constantly, right? Dependency changes, build script makes a bad assumption, upstream makes a subtle API change. In version 1, every fix required a human engineer, right? We had to manually approve and look at every single one of those, which is a lot of work, right? We had to look at it, diagnose it, write a fix, submit a PR, get it approved, wait for that review and all that, and then merge it finally, right? So the version 2 of our factory runs on an AI-powered fixer agent, right? So it generated 2,131 PRs to fix broken Python package builds. 1,400, a little more than that, of them were merged, and with a 68% success rate automatically. Yeah, one of our customers, a large enterprise with over 12,000 package requirements, saw their coverage jump from 82 to 90% because of the agent, right? Fun fact, the total compute cost for that is under $7,000, which is pretty wild. And that's where the engine of Driftless AF comes into play, right? This is actually open source, right? We publish this open source. So it's an agentic reconciliation framework, right? That's a lot of things to say, big mouthful. But essentially, it's using Claude from Anthropic, Gemini from Google, and the design is a write once, swap models so that everything is not locked into a single AI provider, right? So we're trying to spread across that piece. Every action the framework takes is traced, right? There's a full audit trail and it ships a growing library of bots, right? So we have a fixer bot, a version discovery bot, quackage, improve. I can never say that properly without feeling weird. Autofix bot and a CVE remediation bot. And more of them are being added regularly. So you can see here, HA proxy, this package update here is fixed, which is great. Nice little diagram there. So the source is github.com/driftless AF. I don't expect you to remember that, but if you want to see that project, feel free to stop by our booth. We're happy to walk you through it, tell you a little bit more about it, but you can actually pull that, use it yourself. Okay, so we don't say trust us, it's AI, right? And this is something that I feel like we at ChainGuard want to address directly, right? There's a pattern in the industry where companies say our product's AI powered, everything is, right? At this point, and they expect you to see that as a credential, right? And we don't do that. We show our work. So the framework is open source. You can read it. Every AI action in our pipeline is logged. You can ask us for the trace if you want. Our SLAs don't change because we use AI, right? We still provide the same SLAs, 7 days for everything critical, 14 for everything else. Last time I checked, we're at about 2 days for remediation on average. So we're beating our SLA by quite a bit, right? Agents are held to the same quality bar as any engineer, right? So we've got quality gates, independent evaluation, human approval before anything ships, right? Yeah, so we don't say trust us, it's AI. We say, here's the code, here's the trace, and here's the proof. And the flywheel, right? More telemetry, better guardrails. Better guardrails equals more automation equals increasing quality. Increasing quality equals broader adoption, and that means an AI factory that gets better every single day. Even recently, and in fact, when I started at ChainGuard about a year, almost 2 years ago, we'd come out with about 50 images a month, I think. And so what's crazy is that we had about 2,100 or images, I think a couple weeks ago, maybe. And then now we're at like 2,300. So the flywheel is what I'm talking about, is like the way that this agentic framework is helping us is that we're able to actually build even faster. And it's like this momentum that's being like just really awesome and picking up. And I'm pretty excited about that, right? And it's a system that learns and continues to improve all the time. That's how it's made it possible for us to build 30,000 packages. That's how it's made it possible for us to continue rolling out new Python libraries and dependencies. And we actually have CVE remediation for Python libraries as well, which is pretty awesome. So fast by design, secure by default, and better every single day, right? So fast by design because we've engineered the automation, so speed is never a trade-off against safety, right? We're secure by default, that's what we aim to do, so we can't compromise that piece. Secure by default because every artifact we ship carries full provenance signatures and SBOMs, right? And that's a big part of why so many three-letter agencies, so many government entities, so many people in the FedRAMP space or whatever compliance framework you can think of use us. And then better every single day because the flywheel doesn't stop, right? So we're going to keep building, we're going to keep providing what we do to our customers, and we're going to keep innovating. Try and share that with the open source community as well, which is why we've made this framework available for everyone. A lot of people, as a sales engineer, I get on a lot of calls with people and they ask, hey, what are you doing back for the open source community? Are you guys doing anything for that? Are you guys contributing back? And really, we wouldn't be here without open source, of course. The open source community is why ChainGuard exists. Everything from providing fixes, like oftentimes we'll provide fixes and we'll submit them for open source projects that maybe there isn't a fix for, right? So we partner with them. In terms of Trivy and things like that, with the recent vulnerabilities, we offered 5 free container images for our customers, right? Or for anybody. You can just go to ChainGuard, sign up, get 5 free images, right? We want to help you guys start building secure platforms and all of that. And then even just being able to consult on, like our CEO, Dan Lawrence, consulted on SolarWinds when that happened. When we look at Trivy, we were able to come alongside the industry and help with those pieces as well. Open source is very dear to us, and we're going to continue to innovate and provide as much as we can to secure it. But all right. And I think I'm at time, actually. Sorry, guys. If you have any questions, please stop by the booth. We're happy to answer them, and I will continue talking. Yeah.